Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I am providing an update just in the market in general. I'll start real quick with Bitcoin going down to the 4-hour chart. Looks like we've had a strong bounce, a nice recovery here. The question is, do we break out of that bounce, or is more consolidation needed? So if I take a Fibonacci and I put it all the way down here, we are actually battling the last sort of area, which is the 786. If we can get through 67K, so I would say this: for the day, today's goal, or today, tomorrow, or the next day, the goal is to close above on a daily candle above 67, say 67.1. So that would significantly increase the probability of a bigger breakout. So some of the ideas I had yesterday was to say this is probably, let me actually zoom out here. Okay, so what I've been talking about for the last, I don't know, maybe a week or more was this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if that's the case, then if you zoom into the fifth wave, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if that's the case, then we need more of a correction. Now there is a scenario where this is part of a bigger fourth wave. So this is 1, 2, all of this is 3, right? This is 4, and then we go up for 5. That could totally occur. And if that occurs, then we probably have some more consolidation. I did come out with a video a few days ago saying I can't remember, a day. I know I did a video yesterday and the day before that about what it looks like from a fractal perspective of what the all-time high could be. It could be, somewhere around 20 days, or it could be more like 5 or 6 months to get through the all-time high, right? But so we'll have to see how that plays out. But as of now, from the short time frame, this is either an A, B, and a C, continue going higher, right? Or something like a sort of a rise, crash, retrace, and now we're sort of in reaccumulation before either direction. If it's a fifth wave and we're still in that fifth wave, then up. If not, then down. And when I mean down, I mean sort of down as in ranging, right? So again, I'll bring this example up right here. This was back in 2020, right, when we were pumping to the upside. We slammed right into the all-time high. Then we had a big drop. Then what happened? We had a retracement that actually took out the top, right? It took out the top. Then we sort of had this bull flag, right? This flagpole, this bull flag, and a breakout, right? So that is sort of one example of what we can look for as the. So going back to the current price, how that would look is something like this, where we come back up, we have a big knockdown, we come out and break the top, then we have sort of a bull flag, then we continue to break out, right? And this allows the bull market support band to catch up. So we'll see how it plays out. It's very hard to know exactly. We do have 5 waves. I would expect it to start ranging at some point. So some type of range in here, right? And as we range before we break out, again, that allows altcoins to sort of catch up, right? So we'll see how that goes. I've already made a video about it yesterday and the day before, so I won't touch too much on it. So I'll just say this real quick and I'll get to the altcoins. The other option, again, would be something like this, where it's pretty similar, right? It's just bigger. So again, we run up to the all-time high, we have a big drop, then we break out of the all-time high, then we sort of have this bull flag. So it looks very similar. They're both identical. One's just way bigger, the other one's not so big, right? So so you have to ask yourself, well, what recovery looks the most similar? And to me, it's this one. This one looks more similar. Why? Because this one, we've had a range, right? We had another range, and then we had another range, and then we essentially broke out, right? So versus this one was a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, and then breakout. So if we look at this one, what one resembles most and it to the current situation, which is, to me, which is something like this, right? So if it is something like that, then maybe we get something like this. So we'll see how that works. I can just throw a fractal, a bigger fractal here, something like that. So there we go. So there's the current time frame. So it could look something like this, just to give you a representation, a visual sort of fractal here. Now, is it going to play out exactly like that? Chances are not, right? Nothing plays out exactly, but it does sort of rhyme, right? So if that's the case, right, then let me take this here and I'll put it all the way over here. So that would be sort of our range, right? So we would create a big range in here. You know, we hit the upside, maybe we drop further, we back test the bull market support band, we come back up, take out the top, and then we sort of bull flag our way out, if that's the case of an all-time high. If we don't get an all-time high, I don't see why we wouldn't, because we cleared through all the retracement levels. You know, like, we do have some issues with the stock market. I mean, they are at all-time highs, but there's a little, things aren't normally how they should be. One thing, like, right, is gold. Usually that's not performing well during an expansion phase, as you probably know. People have been talking about that. But I'm more focused on how we sort of play around in this all-time. Then we can sort of rule out what's happening, because the other alternative would be that this is a cup and we have a much bigger correction as far as a handle goes, right? So we have a cup and handle, or better yet, some type of inverse head and shoulders, right? So if we take a bars pattern of this and sort of match it up, right? You know, something like that, right? Before, now not exactly like that, but just sort of to get sort of the depth of how it could be. So that could be maybe late in the year. So I think we have a good spring where alts catch up and maybe even some of them break out in a bigger way. I'm talking if this is the bearish case. If it's the bearish case, I still think alts will do pretty well, catching up, even breaking out. Then summertime, as you know, we sort of go into a lull, like a stagnant period where it's just low volatility and just not, things are moving. Then we get into the fall, right? Things start picking up, and then when we get to wintertime, that's when it really kicks off. I mean, you can see this was January, December, and here, that's when we started accelerating, right? And then if you go back over here, right, to this blow off top, when did it start? It really started in September, all the way till the end of December. So that the last quarter of the year, sort of that Santa Claus rally thing, is a nice, you know, that could be when the bull run finishes, or that could be sort of when the bull run really gets started for Bitcoin. If the bearish case, if it's going to be even more bearish than the cup and handle, then I'm still thinking, rise, crash, we have a big retracement, basically. You can call it a double top or even a triple top, whatever, but then we come back down, we have a much deeper retracement back down into this area right here. So between 24 and 31k, right in here, where you take this whole wave right here and then you kind of cut it in half, and then we come down to that halfway point. Then we sort of consolidate, build up reaccumulation, right? That's where it's the reaccumulation, because look, so let me sort of explain how that works. So we have so for example, if you look at this back in Bitcoin, we have this rise, this crash, right? And then the retrace. So focus on the retrace. If you take this retrace and you cut it in half, right, that's usually where it comes down to. Obviously, that was a C19 Black Swan event. Of course, that could happen this year because of election year, right? A lot of fishy things go on. But essentially, we have a retrace and we go sideways. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but what I'm saying is if we go the bearish route, so far I've given the bullish idea, right? A couple different ways how that can continue, which involves something like this right here, where we sort of play around. It could be for a while or for a little bit and then break out. The sort of more bullish is the quicker correction, then breakout, and then the bearish would be that cup and handle, and then the second bearish would be more bearish. But when I say bearish, I mean bearish as far as time goes, the length, the time it takes for it to really break out. So something like this, where we have this sort of range in here. So just for visual representation, I can take the top of this and I'll just do something like that, and then I'll put it right around to where we are now. So that would kind of suck, right? I mean, you can see I would ignore this. I would just say something like, we have this big wave up, we sort of bull flag our way out. It's like a big bull flag. So there's your flagpole, there's your flag, and then we sort of break out. But more than that, it's a sideways base. It's an accumulation base, a reaccumulation base, I should say. So those are your options. And then of course, after that, it gets more and more bearish, right? Then it would be sort of A, B, and C, which I have no reason for it to entertain that, not even close, right? There's no reason for me to even talk about that. I'm just giving you sort of the layout of what could potentially happen over the next days, weeks, and months, even years. Now, not to knock on other channels, but a lot of times they'll give you the facts, right? And I give you the facts too, but I also give you my opinion on what I think is going to happen thus forward. A lot of people don't do that. They don't like to put themselves out there, right? Because there's a lot on the line, right? Your reputation and things like that. So if you get a big error, a big wrong type of thing, right? And it's like so for example, if you had, I won't name any names because I respect all people who do this type of stuff. But you know who they are, where they don't really like to tell you, is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? And if so, what does that look like, right? They don't want to get into that type of stuff. They'll just explain, okay, here's the facts, right? Here's how it lays out, and this is what we can look at. Now, there's a lot of channels that do give you sort of their outlook or their forecast, right? So for me, I like to just put all options on the table. That way we can, look at each one, and as the days go on, we can either rule it out or make it the center of attention. So right now we're at a very interesting phase. We're at the, I mean, this is a really good thing. We're at the back at the all-time high. Some exchange broke it, some didn't. So if I had to make my best guess, I would say that the more bullish route would be in play, where we do get a little bit of correction or consolidation, just like we did the last 2 times before another breakout, right? And that would probably be a 1, 2, 3, and we're probably in a wave 4. And wave 4s could last a little while, right? If we're not in a wave 4, then we are in a 1, 2, and we're in the middle of a third, 4 and 5, and this whole thing would be 1, 2, 3, and then we're in the middle of the 4th much later, which is what I hope, right? Which is what I hope. But either way, I think we get some correction here. If not, maybe it's already done. We had a massive liquidation yesterday. I mean, if you go across the board, look how fast that was. That was a massive drop, not just for Bitcoin, but a lot of altcoins got crushed. So I like those type of corrections because when they're fast, furious, and hard, usually sometimes that's all it needs, right? That's all it needs before the next continuation, rather than it only correcting for a little bit, right? So for example, if the price got up here and it sort of played around, then it came back down, played back up, and then it sort of just takes forever before the big drop, I'd rather just say, hey, get it over with. Now, that can work both ways too, because this could be sort of that bullish impulse before another bigger impulse. But either way, I think we're going to start some type of ranging process in here. We could obviously say that this is a, we could say that this is a 1, 2, all of this is 3, 4, and we get 5. That could totally be it. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Either way, I think if we do take out the high, I think that would be sort of the area where we do start a bigger ranging process before breaking out. Now, the only reason I'm saying that is because that's what happened the last 2 times. That could be wrong. That could be totally wrong. Maybe this time is different, and we slice right through it, and we don't even look back. But, you know, it'd be foolish not to look at the last time and the time before. So the time before and last time, right, we have this sort of, we break out and then we sort of bull flag, right, and then we continue higher. So we'll see how that plays. All right, so now let's get into the altcoins. Now, when I look at Theta on the 1 hour, it looks like it's barely getting started. You could see this beautiful sort of base here, and then we get a big 1, 2, 1, 2, right? And this is probably another 1, 2. So it looks like it's getting started for another pump to the upside. Now, before it pumps, we could get a more methodical correction, right? We can get a, you know, sort of a longer correction in here where we pull back down and back test, you know, somewhere. Well, we already did actually. Look at this. This is why I like those fast corrections here. So you can see here was we ran up right into the resistance. We had a cup, right? We broke out. We back tested it. We pumped to the upside, but then bam, liquidations, right? So then we had this sort of retest. So we back test, and here's our retest. So the big question becomes, if we come back down and retest it again, then the probability is we're probably going to break it down. But if we do break it down, then I'm looking at this, which is a sort of an A. We come back up for B, and then we come back down for C, and then we go. So basically like a zigzag, right? A 3-wave correction. If we don't come down to this line, then I'm looking at it like this, where we there's actually a couple ways. Obviously, we have this rise crash, right? We go up into a retracement. Now we're going into reaccumulation. We sort of just twaddle around in here before breaking out. So that would essentially just be like, here's your flag, here's your flagpole, and we sort of just flag out for a couple weeks, right, or a couple days. It really depends. Timing is very hard to know, and then you just sort of continue breaking out. Or it could be an A, B, C, or some type of flat pattern, right? I mean, there's a lot of different corrections, and instead of me guessing which one, the point is you get some type of correction. Now, a flat pattern, for example, is an A, and we get B. We come up and we take out the high, then we come back down, then we go. So you guys know the flats, right? I'll give you an example of a flat. It was right here. It's pretty big, but let me turn the time frame up a little bit. So this was a flat right here. So you can see we got knocked down, which is an A. Then we come up for B. We take out the high. Then we come back down. And we revisit the low. And then it looks like, okay, now we have a head and shoulders. Everybody's bearish. We're going down. But no. What did I say during that time? I said this is probably a flat. And we got to back test the bull market support band. Right? So it was an A, B, C, and a back test. A lot of people, I can just tell, retail traders looking at this, looking like, okay, this was a fake out. And then we have also a head and shoulders, and we're back down at support. So it looks like it's going to crush to the downside. But instead, it was just a back test of the bull market support band. Because when we came up here, right, when we corrected, the bull market support band was down here. We had to go up, then come back down to meet up with it. Then we could go. And that's probably why I think also Bitcoin is probably going to be in a much more interesting correction, right? Now, that quick liquidation we had yesterday, maybe that was sufficient enough to continue to sort of that deleveraging process to continue the bull run. We'll have to see. So yeah, I think that's about it for Theta. Let me check out some other coins, but basically, long story short, here's our support and here's our resistance, right? So whatever happens in between here, hard to know, because like right here, you can see patterns, you can see Wyckoff, you can see inverse head and shoulder, you can see a break above, you have structure here. Here you just have a straight line up, right? So there's not much to go off of it. So that is when I like to use sort of sequential and then Elliott wave, is just kind of figure out, is this a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Maybe we're in the middle of that third wave. But long story short, we can either, like I said, come down and back test this support, or we continue up and run into resistance. Either way, I think we're going to play around in here for a little bit. But besides that, I still think the next target is above that $4.30 area. We cracked through $3.30. We got rejected. That's okay. I still think we're going to get above this high right here. So the question is, do we continue pumping, or do we pull back and back test, or something in between where we sort of just play around in here, then continue, right? So that I don't have the answer for you. But if I had to guess, and I had to be putting on the spot, if I zoom in a little bit here, like I said before, I think we're in the middle of a third wave, right? So 1, 2, we're in the middle of a third wave, and third waves are pretty big. So I would say either 1, 2, 1, 2, right? And now we're in the middle of 3, so 3, 4, 5. So that would sort of end the third wave of the third. So then it would be 1, 2, all of this is 3, right? And then we sort of get a wave 4, then we get that wave 5. much higher, right? So yeah, and then that whole thing would be a part of a wave 3. So this would be 1, 2, all of that's 3. Then we flag out for 4. Then we get another 5th wave, hopefully. Hopefully that's the case. But during these little corrections in here, you can come all the way down and back test. You can just flag out, right? It's sort of pointless to figure out because, you know, there's a lot of factors, right? You know, things like Bitcoin and stuff. But just looking at it from here, right, it looks bullish. I mean, it looks like here was our base and we just barely started taking off, right? So we can either continue to take off, correct, then continue. But I think higher prices are coming. The first area of support would be, well, actually, look at this. Check this out real quick. If I zoom in to the 15-minute, you can see here was a little range in here. We broke the range. We came all the way down and we retested it. We bought right back up, right? So that could be an A, B, and now we get C. Then we go, right? We can have like a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, then go, like I've said before. But the point, what I was trying to say is we got sort of this back test in here. So now the question is, okay, do we hold that low? And if we do we break that high? And if we do that, then where's the next stop? And that will be the next video or whenever Theta decides to crack this range. So the range would be $3.37, right, down to about $2.25. So we're in a pretty big range. That range going up is about 50%, right? That range coming down is about 32%, 33%. So there you go. There's Theta for you. Okay, next chart. XRP. XRP looks a lot better today than it did yesterday. I mean, it looks really cool. Look at this. We broke above the bull market support band. We had this massive back test. Look at that wick. It sliced right through the bull market support band, then bam. It said, nope, nope, nope. We're going to stay above this time, right? So that I like this wick. Now, if I go to let's go to the 2-day chart. So looking at the 2-day chart, the candle ends in about 2 hours, 20 minutes. It's looking really good. It's looking really good for, basically the goal for XRP is to stay above the bull market support band, which currently is at 59 cents. So that's all I wanted to do, is stay above that. Stay above that bull market support band, then we look good, right? Because I'm still looking at this, right? Well, let's zoom out, and I'm going to show you something. And look at this, right? And you guys already know this, some of you do, but in order to get this big impulse, we need this. And that's exactly what's happening here, right? But I'm going to show you an example. You're not going to want to miss it, of a chart in the stock market. And even somebody pointed it out too, about a chart that looks similar to this, that showcases the examples that I'm trying to present, which is the phases of the market, which is the first phase, you have the rise, right? That first rise is sort of the kickoff, the expansion phase, right? Then people take profits and the crash goes, right? Then you have that crash. Then people say, okay, we had a rise, we had a crash. Now I'm going to buy because it's done crashing. So then what happens? So then we go into a retracement. Now, the people who didn't sell are like, okay, now I'm going to get out of the market because now is my chance. Then we come back down. Then the people who also sold that retracement, but then also bought the pump before the retracement, are now, both of those people are buying in what we call reaccumulation. So we have a rise crash, we have that retrace, then we go down for reaccumulation. And that's what is happening currently with the price of XRP. You can see, right, we have a rise, which is people buying the asset. Then we crash, that's people selling and taking profits. Now, here's where it gets interesting. At the bottom of the crash, or near the bottom of the crash, the people who took profits are now buying the market. So they're buying the market, right? But the people who didn't take profits up here, and the people who didn't buy, or if they did, vice versa, whatever the case may be, they are actually now selling because they missed their chance to sell here. So they had the crash, they go, oh man, I missed it. So then it comes back up and say, okay, now here's my chance, I'm gonna sell, right? Those people sold. But the people who sold here, right, are the people who bought down here, right? And now the people who didn't sell here and the people who didn't buy here are now taking profits here. So that's sort of, I'm explaining the phases of the market. I often talk about those phases, but I don't really explain how and why they occur, right? So now the people who sold here, right? The people who didn't get to sell here sold here. So now those people sold, right? So then what happens? The price comes down. And then what happens at this whole wave? Now you have both people buying. Now you have the people who sold here buying here. You also have the people who sold here buying here. And you also have the people who bought here are now buying here. So now you have both of them buying. And that's why it comes into this sort of sideways base, what we call reaccumulation. Because you have two groups of people, right? The people who want to sell the top and there's people who want to sell the retrace. But both of those people will buy the reaccumulation phase, right? And that's exactly what happened here. So again, you have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout. Same thing here. You have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, just like here. You get that breakout. You get that breakout. Let's see if that happens. Now, let's see if there's any examples other than this example, right, to prove that case. Obviously, the one here would be Bitcoin, right? You have a rise, crash, retrace. You come down for reaccumulation. You go sideways. You break out. Kind of the same thing that happened with Total 3 and Ethereum. You have a rise, crash, retrace, a small retrace, but then you sort of go into reaccumulation. Then you break out. Here's the price of Link right here. You have a rise, crash. You have a three-way move into a retracement. Then you sort of go into reaccumulation. It was small, but there it is, right? There's your reaccumulation. Then you continue breaking out. And it's the same thing that kind of happened here. You have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. So they happen in smaller areas as well, right? Same thing with Ethereum. Rise, crash, retrace. Here's your reaccumulation, your sideways, your breakout. Now, when you look at a coin like Matic, right? It kind of looks like it has a rise, a crash, a retrace, and now it looks like it's in reaccumulation. So you have a base here. Maybe it needs to be a little bigger. We'll see. So here's the price of NVIDIA, one of the most popular stocks. I mean, look at this thing. This thing is just a rampaging beast, right? So let's go back in time here. Okay. And what do you see? Well, if I had to guess, I would say that XRP is somewhere in here. It's somewhere in here, right before the big breakout. Why do I say that? Well, because if you look at NVIDIA, right, you can see we have the buyers, right? They kick off the market, right? Then people sell the market and the price drops. But the people who didn't get to sell are now waiting for a retracement. Then the retracement comes, then they sell. Then what happens? Then it pulls back. Then what happens? Then the guys over here are like, yes, we have a pullback, right? Because they sold the market, right? Price pulled back. They bought the market. Price pulls up. The people who didn't get to sell here are now selling here. Then the price drops again. The people who sold here and bought here are looking at the prices here and saying, yes, there's my pullback. Then what do? They buy. Then what do these people do? The people who forgot to sell and sold the retrace. They're also buying. Why? Because now you can see reaccumulation. So what do we have? We have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout. Now look at XLM. Look at XLM. Same thing. We have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. Now we're going sideways, just like NVIDIA, just like XRP, just like Total 3, just like Ethereum, just like Bitcoin. What do you think happens? Well, the probabilities say that we break out. When did we break out? I don't know. Maybe we go sideways a little longer, right? Maybe we come back and hit the low. Maybe we take out this low real quick for a liquidity grab like we did in C19, right? And then we go. The point is, you have this high and this low. This is the low, this is the retracement high. We're in the middle of that. So we're going to play around in the middle until it wants to really take off and go, right? Going back to NVIDIA, sort of the same thing back over here. Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulate. So we're somewhere in this sideways nature. So then what happened when that happened? Look at the base, right? And this is another thing. Look at this. And this is also why I'm very bullish on charts that look like that. And the number one chart is XRP that looks like that in crypto, because it has the biggest base in crypto history, right? Which is XRP. So you have this rise, crash, right? But then most importantly, look at how big the range is. But then also, what happened when we broke out? What happened when we broke out? Well, we have a 1, 2, right? And now we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 1, 2, all of that's 3 potentially. Then we get 4, then we get 5. So, or we could still be something like this, where it's a 1, 2, this is 3, this is 4. And now we're on another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll see how that plays. So here's the XRP market cap. It's currently $33.67 billion, right? And what do we see? It's the same thing. We have that high, we have that low, and we have this retracement in here with reaccumulation. And the reaccumulation is also at an upwards slant, right? So it could be bearish, right? And we can get a downward slant. So we have a 1, we have a 2, then we go. That could happen. You know, the base is just very big. So the thing is, yeah, it sucks now. You're not making any money. It's torture. It's taking forever. But all I'm saying is, I want to be in it when this thing goes, because when it goes, it's going to really, really go. Why? Because look how big the base is. It's a 6+ year base and counting. So it's the biggest base in crypto history, right? So if I just put the chart like that down here, I mean, we're at the bottom. And to me, it looks like we're going to get something pretty big like NVIDIA did. So something like that. Where we have a 1, 2, right? 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So something like that, right? Now, I don't know how high it's going to go. What I've drawn there is not what's going to happen, right? I think we can get to $500 billion market cap. I think that's very possible. Let's do a little bit of analysis on that. So if I take a Fibonacci extension here, is it? Yeah, that's whoops, what happened? Do it one more time. So the market cap for a full 4.236 extension is $528 billion. I totally think that's possible. I think that's very possible, right? Let's go back to NVIDIA. We'll go here. And then let me take everything off the screen. And then we'll come down here. Where you at? Okay. So I'm going to take a Fibonacci and I'm going to put it all the way to the bottom. Right? And where's the 4.236? Well, look at NVIDIA. It crushed the 4.236 like nothing. Right? So then that means I have to take it off log scale, or I have to put log scale on and say, okay, now where did it go? So let me drag this across. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying let's just measure it because we got to be able to measure it. Where did the third wave pop to? It popped to the 2. So here's the 2 at 67, right? So we came up to the 786. We went sideways. Then we broke out and we went to the 2. Well, if I go now, let's go to Dogecoin. Let's go to Dogecoin. If I can find it real quick without having to pause the video. There it is. Okay, so let's go to Dogecoin. So NVIDIA hit the 2. That's a stock. Now we're going to go to Dogecoin. And to me, Dogecoin is the most similar looking one as far as sort of how XRP looks, right? Where you have the top, you have the sell-off, you have the retracement, and then you sort of have this sideways mess. So if I put that fib on to the top, and let's be conservative. I'm going to be conservative, and I'm going to put it on the base of the close, right? And I'll put it also on the base of the close here. So where did it stop out at? Well, the first stop was at the 1.618 and the 1.702. The second stop was at the 2.618. So NVIDIA was at the 2, but it also went higher. So that I'm talking about that first wave. That first wave hit that 1.702. So now let me put it on the wick, and we'll see if that makes a difference, which is what you're supposed to do. I'm gonna put it on the wick right there. So where's the 2 at? Okay. So nope, it's still about the 1.618. So it actually hit the 2 later on, and then the 2.272. Okay, so NVIDIA hit the 2, and Dogecoin hit about the 1.618. So let's be conservative and say not even the 2, not even the 1.618. Let's say the 1.414. Okay, so now we're going to go to XRP. And I'll just use the Kraken chart, and then I'm going to put this here. Actually, no, I want to use the market cap. But first, let's do the price. And then I'm going to put that here, right there. Okay, so where did NVIDIA hit? Or where did Dogecoin hit? It hit the 1.618. Right at $26. So if XRP were to do exactly what Dogecoin did, it would hit $26. Now, do I think that's going to happen? I have no idea. All I'm saying is, hey, if NVIDIA did it, if Dogecoin did it, why can't a utility-based token like XRP do it? And why not Theta? right? Now let's look at Theta real quick. Where are you at, Theta? So I want to put Theta on, right? But it looks a lot different than the Dogecoin chart, right? So let's just do it anyway. So the 1618 comes in at $117. So the 2 actually was $416. That's massive. But come on, I mean, if Dogecoin can do it, why not Theta, right? Obviously, yes, the market cap is so much different. I know that. Okay, so now back to the XRP market cap. Let's put it on fib, and now let's look at it. Okay, so the 1.618 is right at $953 billion. That is a monster mega move. Now, how can we get to that point? Is it going to just happen organically? No. There's got to be a major catalyst, some sort of partnership, some sort of central bank, something that gets us to that number. I think eventually we will hit it at some point in the future. It doesn't mean this market cycle. It doesn't even mean next market cycle. But I think at some point within the next 10 years, I think $1 trillion is very easily attainable for XRP, a utility-based coin, right? That's been in the top 10 since the beginning of time, even though it had an SEC lawsuit, right? Even though exchanges delisted it, it still held the top 10 title, right? And it also held the top 10 title without even breaking out into a new all-time high. How is that even possible? How is it possible for an asset not to break out into an all-time high and still remain in the top 10? Now ask yourself this: how is it possible for an asset to have an SEC mega lawsuit and not break an all-time high and still hold the top 10? Now ask yourself this: how is it even possible for all of that I just said, but then also exchanges, major exchanges like Coinbase delisting XRP, and it still holds the top 10? You don't measure a coin through its biggest pump. You don't measure a coin through its biggest glory times. You measure a coin of how good it is through its weakest times. So XRP is during its weakest times, right? We have a lawsuit, right? We didn't break out into a new all-time high. We're stuck in a range. Coinbase delisted, right? But now that's starting to change, right? So that was XRP's weakest time. So if that's the case, what do you think is going to happen during its strongest time, right? XRP is in a depression. It's in the valley of death, right? Where it had to endure a lawsuit, litigation, all for years, right? And it also had to endure not breaking out. It had to endure a lot of other things as well that we don't even know about. But if it endured all that, then how is it possible that it still held a top 10 title? That is amazing. And that is that's the difference between an average investor and a very wise investor, is not the fact that XRP has all these problems, but the fact that it's still holding its own, right? So it's actually a remarkable feat of accomplishment. Now you can have some big strong man come in and he get knocked out real quick. But then you have like a Navy SEAL or a Marine come in and have his arm blown off and he's still battling like never before. And to me, that's something like XRP. XRP had its arm blown off, right? I mean, look at his arm. It's halfway there. His arm's supposed to be all the way up here. It got blown off, right? And now he's bleeding out. But look, he's coming back. And when he comes back, he's going to take it all. So I don't know. I'm just speculating. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong and off basis. But for me, I measure a coin not as far as its utility value, what the structure looks like, what the chart looks like, but then also how it fares in a very massive event. Remember, XRP survived. Not only it survived a lawsuit, it thrived. because it still held the top 10. Not only, and if you look at it, was battling ADA. ADA blasted off into a massive bull run from like 2 pennies all the way up to what, $2-3, and it took XRP spot, rightfully so, right? But now look at it. So that's what I'm saying when people say, oh, XRP doesn't do anything, it sucks, it's this, it's that. But yeah, but look what it's gone through, right? Yeah, it's not fun, but the biggest rewards come from the biggest surprise, come from the strongest holders, right? So this is the epitome of laser hands, laser eyes, and diamond hands, right? So now I've given multiple examples. My job's not to convince you. This is not financial advice. Actually, I would definitely not do anything I say. Always do your own research, and you got to have your own sort of strategy. But for me, I'm showcasing why I think XRP is in a prime position. But not only that, let's just talk Elliott wave here, right? We have if this is a 1-2, then this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So then we're in wave 4. We're in a massive wave 4, which means what? We're gonna get that wave 5. So yeah, so I'm gonna I think I'll end it right there. I got a few people calling me, so I think I'm gonna end the video and go answer some calls. But look at the price. It looks really bullish, and mainly because of the current weekly candle. It looks very nice, even better than the current XRP candle, right? So this is the XRP market cap. We have this fat wick to the downside that retested the low, right? Grabbed that liquidity and took it right back to the top. So that is very bullish. I didn't get to add to my position yesterday. I did on QNT, and QNT is right here. You can see we back tested, we broke above the bull market support band. Look where QNT landed, by the way. Look at that. Look where it went. It went exactly to the bull market support band. And it went below, but that was the wick. The close, we closed right above the bull market support band. Very bullish, right? So I was able to do that. I wish I got to add on more. So XLM, same thing. Look where it went. It broke above the bull market support band. It came down, it back tested it, and now it's starting to pump higher, right? So Theta Fuel is the same as Theta. I mean, I could totally see like an A, B, and now we're in the middle of a C, like a flat. There's your high. We chopped to the upside. We got rejected. Now we probably come down a little bit before continuing to higher. Or maybe it was a running flat and we have an A, B, C, and we stopped here and now we're about to go. I don't know. It looks pretty bullish. So same thing kind of with Theta. So go back to XRP. We have a break above the bull market support band. We came down, we back tested it, right? And now we're starting to carry on. Man, I wish I would have bought that dip. It was a nice dip, but who knows? Again, now let's talk about sort of the shorter time frames here. This could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now here's A, we're coming up for B, then we get C, then we go. Or we get an A, B, and then we sort of play around for C, then we go, right? If that's the case. If not, then this is a 1, 2, all of this is 3, this is 4, and then we get 5. So yeah, I'm sort of looking for higher prices, especially if Bitcoin starts to consolidate and oscillate up, oscillate down. But we might not get those higher prices if Bitcoin has that first sudden drop, which it did, right? But if the drop continues to the point where Bitcoin's trying to find its range, then once it finds the range and starts oscillating back to the upside, that's when we can see a bigger pop. But again, from this chart here, XRP, looking at the whole structure, again, we have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, or rise, crash, retrace, and now we're sort of in reaccumulation. We're sort of just going sideways in here before that bigger breakout, right? Now, if we do have an A, B, C, and we come down here and we take out this and we hopefully hold above 37 cents, right? For a liquidity grab, because you can see here's the trend line, right? We're going up, 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 up. All of this is demand, but if we break that, all that liquidity is resting below that line. So it can come, the market makers can come and slam it down, grab all that liquidity, then take it higher. That's exactly what they did back over here, right? That's exactly what they did over here. If I draw a trend line here, right, something like that, and a horizontal trend line, they came down, they took out the liquidity, they grabbed all that liquidity down there, then they took it higher. So we'll see how it plays this time around, right? Everything's up for grabs. We'll see what happens. But I do like the current 4-day candle. Let's look at the weekly candle. The weekly candle still looks good. I would like it to be more of a bullish hammer candle. We want the wick on the bottom to be longer than the wick on top. What we really want to see, what would be amazing to see, is if we can get a weekly candle close above 66 cents. So if we can close above this green candle here and this green candle here, not the red, but the green, then that would be great. So we'll see how that would look. If I go to the daily chart, how's that look? So we slammed right into it in resistance, right? We hit the resistance, we came back down, we took a breath. If I turn on the RSI, we got some room to go, right? So if it is going to create bullish, that's another reason I think we have another high, because if this thing comes out and takes the high, and then the RSI comes out, then it would create that bearish divergence, right? Or at least starting to look like that, because you can see there is no bearish divergence. You have a high, you have a high, you have a higher high, you have a higher high. So if we have a higher high again, and then another higher high in the RSI, then we're really, really going, right? So we'll see how it plays out. I'm still long. I'm still holding my positions long until I start to see more proof that we're going to break down or break up, but sort of we're in that middle area. So if I pull a Fibonacci on, I pull it all the way down. Let me take it off of log scale. I mean, we're right at the 618. So I want to see it break through the 618, break through the 702 and the 786. So a lot can happen, right? If I go down, let's go to the 15-minute. And just, whatever I say for XRP, it also applies for other coins, right? Now, the bearish way you can look at it is to say that this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a 3-way pullback and then a continuation down. I don't think so, though. I don't think so, at least not yet. I think we have this wick down here. Buyers stepped up to the plate. I mean, look at the bounce here, right? If I put it from here all the way up, I mean, we bounced at one point 17%. So between 15 and 17%, we bounced, right? If I go down, we corrected about 20%, but we're currently down 8%. So, you know, look, it's looking pretty good. This could get complex, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We can have W, X, Y, right? Before deciding a bigger direction. Now, again, this is the 15-minute chart. It's sort of difficult to gauge where it goes, but essentially, like all the others, we're in a range. The top of the range, the bottom of the range. So right now we're in the middle. We'll see the best case scenario. I want to break above this high, above 66 cents. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario, I want to hold above the bull market support band. If that doesn't happen, then we're looking at a bigger, deeper, longer correction, right? So we'll keep an eye on it. I think that'll be it for today. I'm already over that hour mark, but I mean, just looking around the board here, a lot of the coins look the same. Here's ADA. You had a big drop and then a big recovery. QNT. Look at QNT. It's already back. Let me look at its retracement here. Yeah, it's already back above the 786. So maybe that's a leading indicator for the other coins to be soon, right? Look at Filecoin. I mean, we had that big drop. It was like nothing. Like everybody bought it up, right? So those are the days when we're real bullish and you have these big drops. That's when you want to look at that. We're going above the 702. Let's look at H bar. Look at H bar. It's already back above, almost above. It's previous swing high. Look at total 3. Now here's the big point right here. This is the big daddy. Let's see where total 3 is. Look at total 3, guys. It's above the 786. So come on, we're looking really bullish. I think this fast, hard drop was just a liquidation event. People were too over leveraged long. They wiped them all out. They took all the money out, and then they revamped it, right? So I think that's sort of kind of what's happening. Now, I could be wrong. It could turn, like I said, it could turn into an A, B, C. But even if we do come back down, I think even if it starts to range, I think it's reaccumulation, and we're going to gear up for the next run. So let's go. And, you know, always understand Bitcoin, right? What does Bitcoin do? Does it break the all-time high? Does it play around a little bit? Either way, like I said, if Bitcoin starts to distribute, if Bitcoin starts to go sideways, right, before it breaks out of the all-time high, that's when the alts catch up. And look at the alts, right? I mean, it's back above the 786. Now let's go to Bitcoin. Where's Bitcoin at? So here's Bitcoin right here. Now Bitcoin doesn't look as nice, right? But let's see. So Bitcoin was above the 786, but now it's around the 702. So the alts are looking a little stronger here, right? So maybe this is starting to bull flag, right? You got a bull flag in here. So we'll see what Thursday brings. Thursdays are usually the most volatile day of the week. I don't know why, but that's just what I've noticed. So we'll see what happens if it's a volatile week, or maybe even next week. So I think that'll do it. I'll probably do a rapid fire at some point, but with so much going on, I want to update my primary base, but I'll get that out soon, sometime this week, and we'll go from there. So yeah, guys, so thank you guys for watching and listening, and I appreciate you guys. If you can, it would be awesome. You hit the like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.